announcements.
Sir, it is with deep regret that we learned of the demise of Mr. Retno Payendi, former Member of Parliament, on 31st of July last at the age of 88. Mr. Payendi was born on 2nd of October 1932 in Rosehill. He started working at the early age of 18 in the office of the port area. He joined the civil service in 1956 and served as field officer at the Family Planning Division of the Ministry of Health. Concurrently, he worked towards the completion of a postgraduate diploma in population growth studies awarded to him by Cardiff University in 1978. In 1979, he joined l'ASIM, l'Association des consommateurs de l'île Maurice, and held the position of president of the association from 1983 to 1987. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Payendi became a trade unionist in 1970 and served as member of the Federation of Civil Service Union. From 1970 to 1983, he held the position of organizing secretary of the Trade Union Educators of the Government Servants Association. He occupied the post of vice president of the Federation of Civil Service Union from 1980 to 1983. In July 1987, Mr. Payendi resigned from the civil service to stand as a candidate in the general election in constituency number 8, Quartier Militaire Moka, under the banner of the MSM Labour Party Alliance, and he was elected as third member. On 4th of January 1988, he was appointed Parliamentary Private Secretary, a post which he held until 6 August 1991. He also contested the 1991 general election in the same constituency under the banner of the MSM-MMM Alliance and was again elected to the then Legislative Assembly. On 2nd of October 1991, he became Parliamentary Private Secretary, a post he held until 16th of November 1995. Later, in the same year, Mr. Payendi retired from active politics. Thereafter, he served as chairperson of the Louis Lagesse Trust Fund. Mr. Speaker, sir, may I request you to kindly direct the clerk to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to the bereaved family.
Mr. Speaker, sir, may I associate myself with the tribute paid by the Honourable Prime Minister to late Retno Payendi. I knew Mr. Payendi very well. We started our parliamentary career together and had occasion to work closely with him on a number of occasions. My memory, Mr. Speaker, of him is that of a most respectable and respected gentleman. Therefore, may I also request you and request the clerk to convey our condolences to the bereaved family. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, I associate myself with the tribute paid to the memory of late Mr. Retno Payendi, former Member of Parliament, by the Honourable Prime Minister and the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, and I direct the clerk to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to the bereaved family. Honourable members, I have two short announcements. I have been informed by Her Excellency Srimati Nandini Singla, High Commissioner of India, that the Lok Sabha has on 27th July 2021 paid tribute and observed a minute of silence in memory of the late Tharngood Jagannath, former Prime Minister and former President of the Republic of Mauritius, and late Dr. Kenneth David Buchiza Kwanda, founding father and first President of the Republic of Zambia. In his speech, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Sri Om Birla, recalled that, I quote, Sir Anirudh Jagannath was the chief architect of India-Mauritius bilateral relations, and that owing to his significant role in fostering the bilateral relations, the government of India has decorated him with the Padma Vishubhan and the first Pravasi Bharatiya Saman Award. I'm tabling a copy of an English translation of the memorial homage. I shall, in the name of honorable members and in my personal name, transmit to the Honorable Speaker of the Lok Sabha the expression of gratitude and thanks of the National Assembly. Thank you. I have another announcement. My attention has been drawn to several media articles which have repeatedly reported that, as a speaker, I did not call Honorable Minister Harry Ram to order when he uttered unparliamentary words at the sitting of Tuesday, 23rd June 2020, to the address of Honorable Shakil Mohammed. I wish to draw the attention of the House that I called both the Honorable Minister and Honorable Shakil Mohammed in my office on the same day regarding the said matter. I have deemed it fit to inform the House and the population at large that upon the Assembly resuming on that day, the Honorable Minister Harry Ram tendered his apologies and withdrew the objectionable words twice in the Assembly. Honorable members, your kind attention is drawn to pages 89 and 90 of the Hansard dated 23rd June 2020, which is posted on the website of the National Assembly. I thank you.
Papers have been laid. Questions?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my question is addressed to the Honorable Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management. Whether, in regard to the MV Wakashio shipwreck in July 2020 and its aftermath, he will table a copy of the report, if any, from the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Center on the shortcomings identified, indicating the remedial measures, if any, as recommended by the National Council that have been implemented to date to prevent a similar shipwreck and to deal with the ensuing threats.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Center act as a main institution in Mauritius for the coordinating and monitoring the implementation of the disaster risk reduction and management activities. The NDRRMC coordinate with all stakeholders to ensure that risk reduction and preparedness planning is included at all levels of the country, from individual and communities to the government policy and strategy. The NDRRMC, the National Crisis Committee, and the National Emergency Operation Command, the NEOC, among other entities, are governed by the provision contained in the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act 2016. The Act provides for a legal framework to better manage disasters with a view to protecting life and property in a more effective manner. According to the National Disaster Scheme 2015, the NEOC facilities are made available to the Department of Environment when they have to activate the National Oil Spilling Contingency Plan. The maritime incident involving ship at sea are usually dealt with by the Director of Shipping under the Merchant Shipping Act 2007. As per Section 10 of the said Act, shipping casualties, which state, where a shipping casualty occurs, such as the loss or presumed loss, stranding, grounding, abandonment, or damage to a ship, and at the time it occurs, the ship was registered under this act or under the law of another country, the director of shipping or a surveyor designated by him may hold a preliminary inquiry into the casualty and may, for that purpose, exercise any power conferred by Section 8(1) and such additional powers as the minister may confer on them for that particular inquiry. In case of a spill at sea, then the Director of Environment under the Environment Protection Act 2002 comes into play and becomes the Director of Spill. Mr. Speaker, sir, the coming into force of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Act 2016 did not alter the specific responsibilities of the Department of the Environment and the Director of Shipping with respect to the shipwreck and oil spill disasters. Accordingly, and as specified previously by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Center, has mainly played a coordinating role in disaster risk reduction and management activities. The MV Wakashio entered our national waters territorial seat, that is 12 nautical miles, on the 23rd of July 2020, 2 days prior to its grounding on Sunday night, 25th of July 2020, off the lagoon of Point Destiny. As such, upon the advice of the Commissioner of Police, the National Emergency Operation Command, as well as the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, were activated. Since day one of the incident, focus was rather on salvaging operation of the MV Wakashio and was under the direct responsibility of the Director of Shipping. Mr. Speaker, sir, the grounding of MV Wakashio triggered a convergence of international experts, salvers, and logistics from Smith's Salvage Company to Mauritius from all around the world. And in view of the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic, a special quarantine condition was exceptionally granted to experts from UN, IMO, Renew Island, France, Japan, UK, ITOF, cleaning contractors, that is Polyeco, Les Flocs Depollution, whose service and guidance were of critical importance. However, due to the sea state dynamics, the vessel started to crack on the 5th of August, triggering a Tier 3, that is more than 100 tons of oil spill at sea, as from the 6th of August 2020. A national environmental emergency had to be declared on the 7th of August 2020 by the Prime Minister under Section 34(1) of the EPA 2002 Act. And the NEOC was activated for a total of 21 days. NEOC was upgraded from level 2 to level 3 as from the 6th of August 2020. A total number of 62 situational reports together with daily brief were prepared and sent to high officials, including key NCC members on a 12-hour interval since the 25th of July 2020. NEOC provided support to the two leading organizations who have the legal mandate to deal with the MV Wakashio situation through the coordination of sourcing and deployment of available resources and logistics from local authorities and other agencies. NEOC also provided support for the arrival, COVID-19 quarantine, and deployment of foreign staff. Following the Wakashio event, lessons learned at the level of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Center are as follows. Firstly, the Wakashio is another situation where a vessel went aground near our shore with...
With louder, I have some problem to hear.
Maybe I'll just, if you allow me, I'll just remove my mask.
I have some problem.
That's okay. Okay, thanks. Hello. Following the Wakashio event, lessons learned at the level of the National Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Center are as follows. The Wakashio is another situation where a vessel went aground near our shore with no immediate oil spill. However, MV Wakashio had on board significant volume of oil representing a threat of a spill exceeding a Tier 3. In this case, since the 25th of July 2020, the Director of Shipping and the Merchant and Shipping Act had a leading role for the salvaging of the casualty on the basis that there was no oil spill, despite real risk of oil spill exceeding a level of Tier 3. The legal mandate to respond to oil spill rested upon the Director of Environment as per the Environmental Protection Act. Hence, the need for harmonization of legal provision among Merchant and Shipping Act, the Environmental Protection Act, and the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act. Secondly, the Director of Shipping and Director of Environment had different lines of reporting under two different ministries for the same situation. Sometimes there was a lack of convergence in terms of priorities between the two institutions before the vessel started breaking into two pieces. The risk of oil spill from a grounded vessel should never be assumed to be low or minimal. Fourthly, the National Emergency Operation Command, which was activated since the 25th of July 2020 and operating round the clock, was mainly responsible for producing the consolidated report. However, the NEOC had difficulties in obtaining timely and consistent information from a number of stakeholders. A NEOC oil spill incident action plan needs to be developed, which will elaborate on its coordination role. Ministries and departments having key role in an oil spill crisis need to understand their role and responsibilities and have to develop capabilities and the culture of operating on a 24/7 basis. Such ministries and departments have to mobilize their personnel and set up a crisis cell at their respective level. 6. The different cell at the National Oil Spill and Contingency Plan, evaluation, operation, logistic, finance, and communication have to be appropriately manned, structured, and rendered operational at a stable place near the incident site as far as possible. A dedicated ministry or department to lead the different NOSCP cell, taking of sample and carrying out relevant tests and reporting, the management, including logistic arrangement for the team of international experts and management of volunteers and NGOs. Seventh, pre-identification of coastal suitable facilities in the southwest, east, and north of the island to be used as a command center for managing future oil spill. 8, the management and capacity building of oil spill management at Agariga, Saint-Brandon, and Rodrigue to be included in the revised NOSCP. Meeting by Director, NOSCP, Director of Shipping, National Crisis Committee, and National Crisis Management meeting to be streamlined so that stakeholders are not unnecessarily held up at the detriment of operational activities. The role of the shipping agent, owner of the vessel, charter of vessel, salvage team, environmental arm, ITOF, to be understood by stakeholders involved in the issue of oil spill. The revised NOSCP to clearly define the role, responsibility, and action by stakeholders before, during, and after the oil spill emergencies. The revised NOSCP to be based upon scenarios where oil spill has already occurred, as well as when there is a threat of oil spill due to an aground or vessel in fire, etc. An in-depth study of the vulnerability of Mauritius, Rodrigue, Agalig, and Saint-Brandon to oil spill based on maritime activities and routes. Software modeling tool to be made available for identifying possible movement of oil slick and likely impact on our coastal areas. Need to implement an oil spill risk reduction measures, that is structural and non-structural, such as pre-positioning and pre-install of facilities for quick deployment of oil spill combat equipment such as booms, ecological pin, etc. Guidelines and parameters for waiving off the environmental emergency and restricted areas. Regular simulation exercise on oil spill incident so that stakeholders better understand their role and responsibilities. Media handling and management to be well defined with the identification of dedicated team for regular intervention. Mr. Speaker, I assume that the leader of the operation is referring to the preliminary inquiry report on the grounding of MV Wakashio bearing IMO number 9337119 in accordance with the Merchant Shipping Act and the Merchant Shipping Preliminary Inquiries and Formal Investigation of Shipping Casualties, Regulation 2017, which was submitted on the 27th of August 2020. The report was on the grounding of MV Wakashio on the reef of Point Destiny. The preliminary inquiry has been conducted in accordance with the Merchant Shipping Act 2007 and the Merchant Shipping Preliminary Inquiries and Formal Investigation of Shipping Casualties Regulation 2017. The purpose of the preliminary inquiry was to investigate maritime accident and to make recommendation for improving safety in Mauritius water. The preliminary inquiry is carried out separately from the criminal investigation. The criminal and/or liability aspect of the accident are not considered therein. The investigation found that the main reason why the casualty occurred was because of the failure to continuously monitoring the ship position due to social distraction on the bridge. And this was a failure in implementing the vessel safety management system procedures for maintaining a proper lookout while at sea. The report has made 21 recommendations to address these safety issues. After a serious incident such as one which happened with MV Wakashio, it is most important to look for lessons which can be learned. The investigation has been as thorough as possible in the circumstances, and a number of points have emerged which should be followed through to try to improve safety at sea and pollution prevention in the future. The recommendation which follows are addressed to the shipping community as a whole, but certain points will be of a special interest to particular section of the maritime community. The salient recommendations of the report which are being addressed in the short term are as follows. Firstly, to ship owners and flag states, incidents involving ship do not only affect the vessel concerned and its crew, shows people are very much affected whenever a major pollution incident like this one occurred. Therefore, it is recommended that ship owners and flag state ensure that the safety management system is correctly applied and followed by all those on board and ashore too, that is manning the ship management companies. Proper and appropriate navigation chart for particular location should be in use at all times. Unnecessary course deviation for unknown reasons should be banned. Coastal states, that is in its case Mauritius now, it is recommended that a modern vessel traffic management and information system be set up. This VTIMS, that is a Vessel Traffic Management Information System, shall operate with dedicated personnel who have followed appropriate training and are well versed with movement of ship. It is therefore recommended that aid to navigation be provided at location where there is considerable movement of traffic, especially the east and the southeastern part of the island. The ship routing. Under Article 22 of UNCLOS, a coastal state like Mauritius may, where necessary, having regard to the safety of navigation, require foreign ship exercising the right of innocent passage through its territorial sea to use such sea lane and traffic separation scheme as it may designate or prescribe for the regulation of the passage of ship. Furthermore, under Chapter 5, Regulation 10 of SOLAS Convention, there is the mention of ship routing which may be implemented on a mandatory or non-mandatory basis. The purpose of ship routing is for the safety of life at sea, the safety and efficiency of navigation, and the protection of the marine environment. Mauritius can adopt the areas to be avoided, routing measures, which are areas within defined limit in which either navigation is particularly hazardous or it is exceptionally important to avoid casualty and which should be avoided by all ships or by certain class of ship. It is therefore recommended that appropriate ship routing system be established so that vessels navigating in the vicinity of Mauritius keep well clear of certain areas and respect at least 12 nautical miles clearance from the coast, especially the east and the southeast part. This shall apply to all vessels, including those in innocent passage. It is also recommended that the appropriate legal instrument be drafted to penalize offenders. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. shall be amended accordingly to include swift intervention before the actual incident, that is, oil spill at sea. It should also include priorities for protection in case of an oil pollution incident at sea and waste management. The Shipping Division of the Ministry of Blue Economy, Marine Resources, Fisheries and Shipping, as well as the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, shall work together and in consultation with all other stakeholders to coordinate the action in case of a threat to the marine environment from any vessel. Emergency towing vessel or salvage towing tug. In case of an emergency such as a fire, grounding or others, a vessel might need to be towed to a safe place to prevent dangers to man and to prevent pollution. It is therefore recommended that an ETV, that is, emergency towing vehicle, be permanently on standby within Mauritius so that it can intervene within Mauritius and its EEZ. Vessel reporting system. The automatic identification system allows shore station to get valuable information on vessel, but as a matter of information gathering, some vessels, such as bulk carriers and laden tankers, should be reporting whenever they pass through certain highly sensitive places around Mauritius. Therefore, it is recommended that a vessel reporting system be implemented in Mauritius with the obligation for laden tankers and bulk carriers to report to coast radio station of the National Coast Guard whenever they pass through certain highly sensitive places around Mauritius. Maritime security. Therefore, it is recommended that security measures be enhanced in order to deal with vessels that fail to respond to communication or warning from the National Coast Guard. On one side, it could be that the communication system of the vessel are not operational, but on the other hand, it could imply the need for more alertness on behalf of shore authorities responsible for security matters. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that at this point, it would be inappropriate to table a copy of the draft report as the police inquiry is still going on as well as the court of investigation. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister, Vice Prime Minister, has taken 21 minutes. I hope that you will give appropriate time also to me to ask the supplementary questions. The question was addressed to the Minister as he is responsible for national disasters. And Section 6 of the Act does say that the Council, which you chair, should examine post-disaster review reports from the National Centre and recommend remedial measures. This is this report that I'm looking at, and this report that I've asked you to table.
That report I've mentioned from the beginning. The first report was the National Disaster Risk Reduction Committee. That was the first report.
Remedial measures that have been taken.
And the thing we are going to take, the measures we are going to take, I mentioned it earlier in the first report.
No conversation. Address the chair. And you also, Minister,
the question is which measures have been taken, have been implemented,
no,
not are going to be implemented.
Because as you know, we have had an inquiry has been done.
Okay.
An inquiry has been done. And we can't take the measure instantly.
You have not taken any measures?
No, it takes time. We have to be fair. We can't just do it overnight. It takes time to put them in practice. Okay, it's just 12 months have gone by. We have not taken any measures. I want to ask about the Maritime Zones Act, where the Prime Minister himself can designate the sea lanes with the approval of the International Maritime Organization.
If my presence is not appreciated or needed, then...
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker, I cannot look at it.
Yeah. No, this is not the debate. This is question time. You address the chair, and he addresses the chair. If I am not needed, then I'm going. It's as simple as that.